Hello everyone and welcome into the channel. My name is Brent and in today's video we are going to go ahead and discuss silver hitting recent all-time highs and then go over why I'm selling now in 2025. So I do have some examples in front of me. We'll go ahead and kind of cover a few of the examples I want to go ahead and showcase, and then we're going to go and cover 5 different areas today. Number 1, we're going to be taking a look at silver's history over the last 20 or so years, talking about some of its main highlights. Number 2, we're going to go ahead and talk about why I'm wanting, why I wanted to sell back in 2020, why I missed out. Number 3, we're going to talk about why I'm wanting to sell now. Number 4, we're going to go ahead and cover the performance of silver versus VU, which tracks the S&P 500 over the 1 year, 5 year, and 10-year mark. And then number 5, we're going to go ahead and cover where you can buy or sell gold here in 2025. There's a lot of options out there, so I'll go ahead and name a few if you guys are interested in either selling your own silver or potentially picking up some of your own. So with that said, if you guys are brand new here to the channel, go down below, make sure you guys are subscribed, hit the bell to be notified every time I release a brand new video. Also, if you have a comment at any time over a prior video or this video, a question, right, go ahead and drop it down in the comment section below. I do read and reply to every single comment, so go with it. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and get into the video. So number 1, we're going to be taking a look at the silver price action history over the last 20 years. I did start this back in 2004, so 2004 up until 2025, we got 20 years of history here. We did see that there was a spike back in the past, I believe right around 1980s, but up until then, silver traded very low between $4 to $10 an ounce. Up until 2008, it spiked around $18 to $20 an ounce before quickly plummeting to those lows of $10 an ounce, which that was very low after it had run up quite a bit out of those already lows. Then we had quite a few factors kind of playing in with the Fed during that 2011. The Fed was looking, we'll cover here in a minute, the keynotes there, but there was something related to the Fed driving the prices of 1 ounce of silver. So this is an ounce of silver. We have a little coin like this. This is an ounce of silver, and these are 1 ounce of silver as well. So they're just little tiny little things, but each one of these individual ounces were $48 per ounce, which is essentially the all-time high of silver. It quickly crashed down afterwards, hitting a bottoming out point of around $13 during 2016. I do remember looking and covering silver prices back then. I believe I covered silver prices. I know I remember looking at silver prices trading at $14 an ounce. It may have been in 2018 that we discussed this, but I remember covering silver at that time. And I was like, man, I got all this silver. I hope it comes back up to some prices where it's a reasonable level. And that took place in 2020 with the lockdowns taking place in 2020. We saw silver trade up to $29 to $30 an ounce, and I really wanted to buy it at that time, but just the circumstances of stuff did not happen. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. And then it quickly came back down, touching about $18 an ounce during mid 2020 into 2023, before here we are in March 2025, where it recently touched $34 an ounce. So that was just insane to me to see these prices being so fluctuating over the last, if you're looking at a 20-year period, there was there's only 3 or so times where silver, it's never been on a consistent climb. It's just been it's a what did they call it, like the zigzags or something saws, right, where it just kind of goes up and down, just the constantness of it all. So there's not that nice trend that I like to see with stocks. So in one of those kind of uncertain assets, it's not something that I'm really keen on keeping long term. So this kind of goes over some of the historical highlights. So as mentioned earlier, we had that 1980s. The Hunt brothers attempted to corner the silver market, pushing prices. So similar to diamonds, right? They tried to corner the silver market. They priced they pushed the prices up to $49.45 per ounce before the government intervention caused it to crash. This government stepped in. Silver came down really hard. I did see that between 1980s and 2008, silver had mostly moved between $4 and $10 an ounce. And again, here we are in 2011, where that other rush was, which drove it up. So here, amid fears of currency debasement following the Federal Reserve's quantitative easing program, so they wanted to, I think that had something to do with like the money supply, and people just wanted to get into a secure physical asset. Silver hit an all-time high there of $49.51 per ounce on April 28th, 2011. And then recently, the most recent one that we've seen was that spike during those lockdowns where, economic instability, supply chain concerns drove silver prices over $30 an ounce. We saw everything get affected during the lockdown, supply chains everywhere, lumber, eggs, toilet paper, cleaning supplies. It was just a nice safe haven. And then here we are in 2025. A lot of experts believe that silver could rise to even $40 with the current momentum pushing it up. There is a couple key indicators down here talking about the surges of pricing. One being the big solar energy thing that's going on. You got those guys going door to door, knocking on your door, wanting to install those solar panels and put holes in your roof. That's a big thing that's been going on. It takes quite a bit for those panels to be in, it says right here, each electric vehicle requires 25 to 50 grams of silver per battery component for the wiring, the advanced sensors, and so on. Electric vehicles are huge. Tesla kind of got into that and created that market demand, and then other manufacturers kind of followed suit, creating their own sort of electric vehicles. And now we see electric vehicles everywhere on the roads. Wow, can't talk. And then 5G is also coming out, the expansion of different technologies that's utilizing silver for its connectivity. That's, one of the driving factors there as well. Now, in recent times, what's kind of driving up some of the silver, right? We have that persistent inflation. Inflation has been staying above those target levels. So investors are kind of turning to precious metals as sort of a hedge against rising prices. And we see that with gold having hit recent highs of over 3,000, silver hitting recent highs of over 34 or now $34 per ounce. We also have banks and debt concerns. Central banks are accumulating gold at record levels. With the audit, we've seen a lot of traffic from other countries bringing gold and silver in potentially, for things. So since silver often follows gold trajectory, gold hitting those recent highs, they believe that silver will kind of follow that because of the normal split. I believe it was every, I forgot the percentage. I don't know if that's in here, but I was kind of reading how silver is usually a percentage of gold, and it's really off right now. I think it might be in here. We do have some mining challenges, but from all what I was reading, Mexico is one of the highest silver producers and mining companies, and they've ramped up production and ramped it up. So I don't see a lot of shortages happening here within this area. It talks about silver being a poor man's gold, with gold having actually surpassed $3,000 per ounce, and as a hedge against inflation. So I don't know if there was a whole lot here. I just kind of wanted to include this as some of the analyst predictions here for silver hitting $40 to $50 as a target. And it was mostly the industrial growth. Again, solar panels, electric vehicles, China's demand in electronics and other things. It kind of drives that up. So talking about number 2, why I wanted to sell back in 2020. Like I said earlier, these instances where silver rises up doesn't happen very often. And when it does peak, it comes down very quickly with history, right? Here, this time period between May of 2020 and, it just didn't stay up near those highs for very long. It kind of waddled in that time frame. Even this run up here lasted potentially 2 or 3 years, but you never saw those all-time highs. So these all-time highs just appear and then they're just kind of gone. So these run-ups are very quickly and then it just kind of falls and falls and falls. Here we go quickly and then falls. Here recently we had it quickly, right? It's gone up quickly. I feel like $34 an ounce is a lot better than I could have got back in 2020 when I was wanting to sell but missed out because I had just finished moving. I was holding on to my old property. I was buying a new property. There was a lot of paperwork and different things I was doing. And even when after it closed, I was moving from one house to the other. I misplaced the silver at that time and I kind of just missed that peak. And then when silver came back down to $18, $16 an ounce, I just felt like, hey, if it was $30 an ounce, I could probably wait a while. We're in this time right now where inflation is still a really big part. A lot of uncertainty recently with the markets and the world itself, right? So it's bound to bounce back up to $30 an ounce or even higher. So that's kind of the reasoning behind it. And here we go. Silver above 2020 highs, opportunity now to lock in profits. Now, I do understand that silver could potentially rise higher. And, some of the main concerns here, as we talked about, inflation, economic uncertainty, rising demand in tech and industry, and also interest rates expectations and dollar weakening. So dollar has been kind of weakening here. Interest rate expectations, I do see interest rates kind of pulling back in 2025. Fed hasn't raised rates over the last 2 meetings, but I believe at one point there they had expected a potential cut of 0.25% to 0.5% in late 2025. So I'm just wanting to kind of move out of the physical asset where I'm able to take it, invest it in the market into something I feel more comfortable buying and holding over the long term. So here, for example, talking about buying and holding over the long term, I wanted to go ahead and display a graph outlook here of the history of VU versus silver. So here we have the 1-year chart between silver and the S&P 500. S&P 500 over the last year has climbed a whopping 10.52% after losing nearly 10% here recently, right? It was up here for quite a while, around 23%. Silver in that time frame in the last year has gained 31.14%. We take a look at the 10-year. I thought I had the 5 and the 10, but maybe I just went with the 10 and the max. Over the last 10 years, we do see that looking at a block of 10 years, the more likely scenario for investing long term is going to be investing in the S&P 500, the VU, because not only are you tracking an asset that appreciates in value, if you're wanting to invest and reinvest, you're going to get dividends from VU. You're not going to get any sort of dividends, any sort of reinvested appreciation shares by keeping and holding silver. And oftentimes, as we'll go ahead and discuss here in a little bit, there's markups and markdowns on when you're buying and selling silver and gold, which really hurts when you're trying to, you have an asset that you spent buying, unless it really runs up, a good amount, you could actually lose quite a bit when you end up selling that position. We'll go ahead and talk about that here in just a minute. And then when I look at the max chart here, this is tracking it from not the highs of 2011, but starting here in 2012, period. I believe when the S&P 500, VU started being tracked, it really just kind of shows the performance of silver during this time frame. It kind of stagnated, right? It's up. This shows 79%. But that performance is just so up and down. I'm not a fan of it. Whereas if I invest into the S&P 500, it's a collection of anywhere from 500 to 512 individual companies, with the majority of them being very tech heavy, right? 30% into the Magnificent Seven, Magnificent Five, Seven. So I just feel there's more safety play when investing into VU. I get the dividends, I can reinvest those dividends, I can buy back more shares, versus if I'm holding on to VU, silver, so I got quite a bit of these bars, they're heavy. If I misplace them, my kids want to get into the closet and, mess with them, play, pretend in their little shops, I might lose misplace my silver. I don't want that happening. Versus if it's invested in the market, I know where it's at, and it's easy to liquidate and move around, right? Versus a physical asset. So the last thing, number 5, where can you sell silver? So number 1, you can sell it at an auctions, private buyers. Actually, when looking online, I went on eBay just to kind of take a look at some of the ones that I have. So I have the Great Northwest. So this one here, let's see if I can show that up on the screen. Yeah, the Great Northwest right here. I'm from the West Coast. This one's selling online for $40 an ounce versus what we saw. The current price is around $33, $34. I have the Mexico Libradita Onzo ounce. So this is from 1985 right here. That's my birth year. So that's how long these coins have been with me forever. So here's that one. Let's see if I can get up on the oh, goes up, goes right. Not really visible. It's better here on the picture. But yeah, I have quite a few of these. My parents bought quite a bit of silver for me when I was a kid, and has kind of held on to it during this time frame. And let's see here. We got the scales. I thought that I like these ones. Like this is an interesting one right here. It's got the scales, the weighted scales on one side, and it's got the American Eagle on the other holding the flag. So, and then of course we have like the tiny little, this is the 10-ounce bar right here. So 10 ounce of silver. And then we have these little tiny little 1-ounce bars, which my green screen kind of eats up. But all in all, I have around 60 ounces of silver that I can't really do anything with it besides just kind of looking at it. It's something nice to look at, right? It's shiny, but and I could definitely, when looking at prices online, right? Here's these 10-ounce bars right here. So let's see if I can showcase that. Whoops, it is. You don't want to drop that on my keyboard. It's pretty heavy, but oh, there we go. These 10-ounce bars right here, they sell on eBay around $3.75. The Mexican 1-ounce coins are around $39. The Liberty Bell $38. The other vintage Northwest ones are $40. So right, these are able to be sold at a higher price than what I'm selling, than what I'm seeing at the other places. So there's online dealers as well. You know, AP Max, JM Bullion, Kitco, which is where I got my graphs from, peer-to-peer. So these are where I kind of pulled up eBay. That's kind of the peer-to-peer. Now, I did look at some local shops, and that's primarily where I'm going to be probably selling out of my silver. I think it's just kind of easier to try and sell it locally at a shop versus trying to go anything online or try and do it myself via eBay, right? I'll be on eBay listing a piece at a time, trying to sell off these pieces individually. Maybe if it was a lot less, but I'm trying to sell about 60 ounces of silver, and I don't want to wait for prices to either, prices going back up, going up is fine, right? But prices could quickly turn around and come back down. So right now, these prices on the website kind of fluctuate here. We can see that the 10-ounce bar, which is the one that I was holding up. So this one right here, this 10-ounce bar is, there we go. 10-ounce bar is $318.63. And you can still see here that there's a premium. So there's a premium per ounce. So if you're buying, it's $1.25 premium per ounce that you're paying. So you're paying 10.25, 25 and 10, so like $2.50, and then 10, so $12.50. So if you're purchasing at the stated price of $3.18, you're paying $12.50 extra to buy it. And then if you're selling the ounce, you're paying $2. You're losing out on $2 per ounce when you're selling. So if I'm going to sell this 10 ounce, right, it's listed at $318.63 at the time. They're going to deduct $2 from the sell value per ounce of this, I guess. So this will be, would that be $20 difference? So potentially that's 20. I don't know exactly. I have to talk to them. This is something I want to go look around to a couple different shops, but this is just an example one. We also have the 1 ounce American silver one. So on the other side of these ones, we kind of looked at the eagle ones, right? So any of these ones right here that have the eagle, the American eagle on them, let's see if I can put that up there. Yeah, the American eagle ones, they're an ounce. You can see here that if you're buying them, my buddy bought about 16,000 of silver a few years ago. You can see that there's a premium per coin of $4.25. So anytime that you're purchasing 1 coin, there's a markup of $4.25. But if you're selling it, there's no markup, there's no markdown. It's just a flat value of $33.86. So I do think that if you are buying coins, that hurts, right? That's a huge markup, $4.25 per coins. The good thing is if you're selling, you get to be able to sell it at 0. But I thought that was just an insane. So this is kind of one things that I, when looking at buying and selling silver or any sort of physical asset, that whole premium per coin thing really takes away from your profit, right? Because that $4.25, that's a big percentage when it comes to selling it at this price, right? See if I pull up the calculator here at the difference. I didn't have this in the past kind of pulled up right here. But if we take a look at the difference between 33.86, for example, and then I go ahead and remove 33.86 minus, I want a plus. So plus 425, so 38.11. 38.11. Okay, so they put an 11, almost a 12% markup. When you're buying it for 12% above the price. So when you sell it, silver would have needed to move up 12% to cover that premium that you purchased the coin at. So I don't want to have that, right? As we saw over the performance here. See if I have it here. Yeah, the performances here. Silver has recently had good performance, but long term, it's very flat long term, right? Here recently over the last 10 years, we've had the majority of the majority of those capital gains coming in the last 10 years. Whereas that time period from back in 28, that recent high, up until 2020, it was very, very low or even negative returns there with silver. So I kind of taking a look at it. I don't want to have it. I want to be invested into assets that I have more control over. There's, with brokers the way that they are online these days, there's nothing to buy, there's nothing to sell. It used to be when you bought something, right? It was like $4.95 per buy, $4.95 per sell to sell. Options costed per contract. It was an expensive time in the past. If you invested anywhere prior to 2015, you were paying a good amount premium to be buying and selling into stocks. That's why it was so nice to just buy and hold. But here recently, with Robinhood being introduced and doing a lot of buys and sells, at a cheaper discount, for free, that caused every other broker to drop it down as well. So that's kind of the main reasoning before liquidating the silver and moving over to an asset that has much more long-term appreciation, better opportunity for buying and selling, more opportunity as far as contracts with options, dividends, and just better overall. So yeah, final thoughts. Silver is at a new high. I'm taking advantage of the opportunity, and I wanted to let you guys, ask you guys, where do you think silver is heading? Is it something that you track yourself? Is it not something you've ever considered buying? Silver and gold. People talk about it, but how many people actually hold on to it, right? So let me know down in the comment section below. I would really love to hear your thoughts, and I want to go ahead and let you guys off with little ending notes. If you would like to get up to $325 by opening an account over at SoFi, they currently offer a 3.8% APY, which is very high in comparison to many other checking and savings accounts. So I usually get my direct deposits put directly into SoFi, move them into my savings account. It's really easy to bounce between my checking account, savings account, and if I want to pay off a credit card, it's very easy. So you can go ahead and QR scan that with your phone if you guys would like to get directly on there and get your bonus. And then also, if you are not quite investing yet, or haven't considered, or you are investing but haven't considered investing over at SoFi Invest, all it takes is open an account for $25 and you will be giving $25 of your very favorite stock. And again, if you guys would like to scan the code, it is there for you guys as well. There'll also be links down in the description below and in the pinned comment. So if you guys would like to take part in that. And I did make a video in the past going over any sort of points that you redeem on your credit card can be directly deposited into your SoFi investment account. So that's another big old bonus there. I think that's it. So with that said, if you guys are not yet subscribed, go down below, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified every time I release a brand new video. If you guys have any video topics that you would like to see discussed here on the channel, let me know down in the comment section below. Really love to hear from you guys, and that is it for this video. Thank you all for tuning in. I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.